everyone, Emily Jackson here from Great Family Adventure. Our mission is to empower and educate people to take their families outside and make the most of it. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite things to do as a family, and that's an overnight rafting trip. When I had a friend, Polly Hillicky, message me saying, do you want to come check out our new setup with Salmon River Adventures? I'm one of those people that always says yes and then figures it out later. So it's a little chaotic getting there just because we're really busy in general, but I was like, you know what? These are the things that make me really happy. I look forward to these trips. It's one of the best things that we can do as a family. So we're committing to it and we'll figure out everything else later. Sure enough, my parents decided that they were going to come, which is really exciting, and my 14-year-old brother Casey as well. So for me, this already shifted the whole gears of the entire trip. Instead of it just being our family of 4, I now have my parents coming along as well as my baby brother. And so this was a really big deal to me because I absolutely love these trips. And my mom's been on one with me before, but my brother, he's done one with me, but my dad has never. So this was kind of a big deal just to get the whole family involved, and I was really excited. We also had a really good friend of ours named Alec Voorhees. He's like Uncle Alex to my kid. He decided he wanted to come along too. So now the trip was really turning into a full family adventure mode. And for me, I just love being out on the river with the people that I love. And to be able to include more of those people that I love so much onto the river trip was just incredible. Now, Nick and I, when we do these overnight river trips, often we are either renting a raft or figuring it out, and then we're doing the full pack, the coolers, everything, the groovers. For those of you who don't know, basically you're carrying your poop out. And so this is going to be a different experience because our friend Polly at Salmon River Adventures, this is a full like catered, things included, like we're just showing up. And that completely shifted the way that I had to prepare for this trip. So she just gave me an address and said, be here by this day. And that was it. That was all the information. I was like, well, what about X, Y, Z? And she sent me a packing list, and it was basically like, bring your own sleeping bag. So this is one of our first like true guided river trips where we had a guide taking us down and taking care of the meals, the meal prep, everything, and the groovers, the full setup. They even had their own tents, so we didn't even have to pack our own tents on this trip. Once we showed up at Polly's, the first thing that we noticed is we parked our trailer, we looked outside, and we have to take a zip line.
This thing is pretty cool.
A literal zip line to get across the river to get onto their compound. Now they own property on both sides, but the tents and everything was set up on the other side. That's where their kitchen is and everything. So we knew the second that we rolled in to their area that this was going to be an adventure, and we were very excited.
What did you think of the cable ride?
It was fun.
That was pretty cool. I've never been on a cable car before.
Once we got across on the zip line, it was really cool to see how they set up these glamping tents. So for Nick and I, that was really special because the first night what we ended up doing is we paddled upstream. So we took a raft and we paddled down. My son paddled his own kayak with me, and then we had a bunch of family in the raft, and we all paddled down to where we were glamping on the Hillicky's property, Salmon River Adventures. This was really nice because we arrived, it was an easy day, it was very mellow, we had all of our stuff in the tent, and we had a beautiful meal, followed by some rock climbing, which is really exciting because they had it right there, right on their piece of property. We didn't have to drive anywhere. This was really fun because we got to push ourselves. So like for me, I don't like heights. I don't like being like my life's on a rope. I find it really intimidating. But at times when we're doing things as a family, I'm like, okay, I really need to be brave for my kids. And so when my kids were like, oh, I want to try it, my son was like, I don't think I'm going to try it. And we weren't pushing him because the kayaking had already been a lot for him that day. But my daughter really wanted to push herself. So we decided that we were going to take her and get her up on the rope. Parker, sure enough, did amazing at rock climbing. She never quite made it to the top, but I don't blame her. She's got little legs and little arms, and she did fantastic. What really impressed me was watching my brother Casey, who's 14. So Casey doesn't like to do a lot of different things. You know, he was born the same year that an iPad came out. So outdoor activity, he is like a gamer and he loves his games, and that's like what makes him very happy. And then pushing himself physically in some of these scenarios can be really intimidating for him. But the second we clipped him in and he got a little competitive with me, he was so fired up. He had the best experience ever, and I was really proud of him for making it almost all the way up multiple times. So he did a really good job, and that was a huge highlight of the entire trip for me. Once we had spent our day at the compound, you know, we did hiking, we did climbing, we rafted down to the compound, we had a beautiful dinner, big breakfast, you know, berries, pancakes galore. It was absolutely delicious. We were packing up to go on the overnight rafting section of our camp trip now. So we were gonna do 3 nights out on the river, which means that we had to pack, be fully loaded into our rafts and get everything together. Luckily, like I said, this was a guided trip. So for the first time, my job really was just to make sure that we had our own personal stuff and everything else was taken care of. One of the best feelings and moments ever is that push off. The second you push off, you know that, oh, well, if I forgot it, I forgot it. As a mom, I think there's a really heavy mental load of prepping for these because everyone expects you to have remembered everything. So for me, when we push off, it's a little like, well, it's done now. Like, I may have forgotten something, but there's nothing we can do about it. So for me, that's a really like positive moment when we do push off, because it's like, now I'm on to the next section of the trip. So I go from prepping to we're off and we're on the adventure, and that is so freeing. Once we pushed off, the whitewater and the rapids were really mellow. They were really fun. I had my fishing pole with me. I got to do some trout fishing. The kids were having a blast on the raft, in their kayaks, moving around. The whole thing was really, really beautiful. The section of river that we were in was absolutely gorgeous. We saw, you know, mountain goats. We saw bald eagles left and right, which is a beautiful area to be paddling in, or rafting for that matter. Sure enough, they took care of our full lunches, everything. So the second it was lunchtime, we all pulled over. We had a nice lunch break. Everyone hung out. This was a really good pace for a family because instead of like pushing hard for getting a certain number of miles or getting to a destination, it was all very relaxed. And the sections of river that we were tackling was pretty small. So it allowed us to play more. And my family loves to play. Each one of the campsites was really unique in their own way. We got to do different things, we played some different games, and our hosts were absolutely incredible. The meal cooking was delicious. We were full from the start to finish, from the entire trip. I don't think I've ever eaten so much food, and delicious food for that matter. We felt very safe and well taken care of. I was really impressed with just the level of information that they had about the river, the rapids, where we were, what we were doing. I didn't really feel like they left anything unanswered. And when you have your kids and they're asking you 10 million questions a day, you really want to make sure you are with a guide or a company that's going to be able to answer those questions for you, or at least help alleviate either some of the fears or doubts or questions that you or your family might have. So for us as a family, it was really cool to see. My mom and my dad had an absolute blast. They got to watch my brother Casey push himself, not only kayaking, but climbing and playing different family games. My husband Nick and I had an absolute blast connecting and being away from our phones. That's a really big part of going out on these rafting trips for us, is getting off of any form of electronics. And my kids too, you know, they're totally disconnected and they were just really engaged with the environment around them. And it's a beautiful thing to witness. So if you've never had the chance to do an overnight rafting trip, I would highly recommend getting outside, going on one, finding an outfitter like Salmon River Adventures that's gonna take care of you, because it's really important as a parent that you make the right choices when you are basically putting all of your safety and you know, like just committing to letting someone guide you down the river. So for us, you know, having that trust, knowing them already, it was just absolutely amazing. Best trip ever. Can't wait to go back. I'm already planning my visit for next year, so I'm really excited to go back and visit them, do some more kayaking, more exploring, and check out a whole nother section of that river.